Hello，观众朋友，大家好，欢迎来到我的世界恐怖地图之旅这一系列的 Dagon Dagon 意思是达贡或者异魔禁区吧，反正就是跟魔力有关系的一些东西。确保装好资源包 FOV 95。2号是选项，我看看。哦，Press Shift to go back。这个讲解人我们调到开启，就是创作者，再把声音调大一点。卡萨这什么？好像不是说英语的，不是英文的名字。下一个是信息。It's a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, and the game Dagon focus on story and atmosphere，故事和氛围。你不会找到难度选项、动作顺序或者物品栏管理啊，没有什么太多动作交互的，就是看一眼它的过程。那我们就开始。
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine, that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
世界各地的画。哦，这是印度，这边是埃及，这边是什么？是欧洲吧？哦，这是有一个很有名的一个场景，我记得《刺客信条》Odyssey 那里边也有。图坦塔蒙吗？还叫什么？反正狮身人面像。那我们就继续。我们是一个作家，精神枯竭了。
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific. Of course, everything seemed quite normal at first.
这是大海，我们船只在大海当中航行。这里其实就已经是这个小说了。老彭你好。哦，他在拖地。
Unfortunately, The packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
好像是第一次世界大战的时候。哦，船只被炮弹击中。
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel made a legitimate prize, while we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners. So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time. When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
你的主角非常无奈。
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
还是往北边走比较好。
Of the longitude I knew nothing,
南半球海
and
洋
no
多
island or coastline was in
东
sight.
升西落，西落，这是太阳下山了吧？西落，这边就是北。啊，难道走反了？
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship, or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land. But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened while I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous. When at last I awaked, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire. And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
The well 是细想陈述的意思。哈 ，the well。
The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet. As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface. Exposing regions which for innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the land which had risen beneath me, that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, strain my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things. For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
这里居然有鸟，说明离陆地应该不会太
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of
不
its
会太
stickiness,
远。
and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
怎么这么像一个立方体？
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey. On the third morning I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. Poor thing.
这边就不让走了，到处看看。
I need my backpack before I go.
哪里？这是货物，这是箱子。
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
天哪，这什么的？哦 maddening. But I was too much concerned. Madden 是什么意思？叫狂怒。反正鱼要挂了吧那种狂怒。But I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight and evil, and set out boldly for an goal. 主角不知道该去哪儿，比较迷了，我也快不知道去哪儿。等一下，哎，这边是。那边不让走，咱们那边不让走，不让我回去了。我靠，这边都能走的。哦吼，原来是小土包。 刚才是在这里，哦，应该不是在这里，在这里也不在这里，这是一个新的场景。我操！我操！啊！都告诉我，都鱼都活过来了。
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock, which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
哇！吓到我了。哦，这有个山洞，都是诡异的树，这不是树，这不是海底吗？你想想，这么多鱼，这海底突然海水退去了，这到底是什么？哦，一艘船。Oh no， 回不去了啊。
Well, looks like I'll have to find a different way. There's a source of light shining through that crack up there. If only I could find a way to get up to it, I'd be able to escape this place. I need to take a look. If I found something sharp, I could use it to cut the torn mast, causing it to fall. There's something in these barrels, but I can't open them with my bare hands.
Eh, 难道说要用这里找出一些尖锐的东西？
It's an old shipwork, and yet the lamps are still working.
Shipwreck 是什么东西？啊 ，shipwreck，it's a old shipwreck， 是船只，这是艘很久之前逝世的老船，遇难船只，老的遇难船只。但是呢 ，the lamps 这个好像是一种灯吧 ？lamp 是什么 ？lamp lamp 是灯啊，就是灯 ，lamp 就是灯，灯还在工作，灯还在工作。哦，这里是什么？哎，这是骨头，难道
I could pry a barrel with bones, but these ones are too brittle to be useful.
brittle 很容易碎太容易碎了，太沙了用不了。这是水。
What if I made one of the stalactites fall on top of this barrel? I guess it's worth a try. Now, I need to find something to break off a stalactite.
石头扔一下。哦。这是一个锯子吧？我们仔细看，天哪！还有一个 pickaxe。这样的话啊。灯也灭了，坏了。
That night I encamped, and on the following day still traveled toward the another hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
哦，这寒风吹。
By the fourth evening I attained the base of the mount, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance, an intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
在小山的阴影那边睡下。哦天，走不动。哦吼，我们居然背上背包了！哦天哪！哦吼，背上小书包。天哪，天黑了，好黑好黑，救命啊！我靠！哇，怎么全是这种死的这种水母啊 ？Jellyfish， 发生什么了？啊！啊！被抓着了，怎么我们的呢？20年代早期的这些音乐戏剧非常经典。到底怎么了？
I don't know why my dreams were so wild that night, but when the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
为了天黑了走路，我们就更不用担心这个太
I
阳。
have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me.
为了走路省力气，这是什么啊？像木头
But
一
I
样。
think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mount and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit for canyon.
无法测量的canyon，
whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
No.
I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent, while after a drop of a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps where no light had yet penetrated. Then, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
It
was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
你背包去哪儿？
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith.
石碑。是吗？
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely. The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steps that hemmed in the chasm.
Whale.
and
蛇。
revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the
哦，
bottom,
天，
winding out of
哦，
sight in both directions. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the monolith on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
还会亮。
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphic unknown to me, and unlike anything I had ever seen in books. Consisting for the most part of conventionalist aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world. It was pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least, a certain sort of men. Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. They were damnably human in general outline despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips. Curiously enough, they seemed to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing while the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then suddenly I saw this thing. The water started to behave strangely. Then the thing slid into view above the dark waters. I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little. I believe I sang a great deal, and laughed oddly when I was unable to think properly. I have indistinct recollections of a big storm some time after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard peals of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
Oh.
In my delirium I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe. I asked myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken. Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist, and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
鱼神 Dagon.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Oh,
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information. People will decide whether to use my notes as a source of knowledge or ridiculous mockery. The end is near.
oh 天！啊！不要这样，跑床底下。哦，你这位置。哦天哪！哦。
Hello? Hello? Sir? Hello? Sir, please? Help!
大工程。拜克萨，Dagon，一魔之地。Feel free to play my other maps that you can find on Minecraft maps with my nickname Kasa. Thank you so much for playing my map. The end. OWCAP capital. O capital. And to change. Additional information. Map was based on the Lovecraft story. I had to change it a bit to have some interaction around. I hope you don't mind it. 这期的恐怖视频啊 ，Dagon 啊，叫 Dagon 啊，叫鱼神，非利士人崇拜的人鱼神，或者说什么达贡，或者说一魔禁区达贡之神力。啊，这期的视频就到这里了，按赞、订阅、转发，下期再见。